time is just gone 10 minutes to 5 as we continue with the broadcast this afternoon. And we are now going across to be joined by my brother Tahir Maepa. And we're talking about Markus Jooste, the former CEO of Steinhoff. And yesterday, I think by now it's already common knowledge that he has died. And as a result of suicide now, there's just so much with regard that one can actually talk about this man, Markus Jooste, and obviously taking his own life shortly before he was obviously due to be taken in. But we've also heard about the 475 million rand that he would have been required to pay as well. And to unpack and to make sense of all of this, we are going across to be joined by my brother Tahir Maepa. Tahir, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for having me, Inyat.
Yes. I'm not too sure, yesterday whether we were all greeted by shock, by surprise, whether, we knew what was coming, whether it wasn't coming. But the mere fact that this man, Markus Jooste, committed suicide, and this is shortly before, and we know he was under severe pressure. We know the 475 million rand fine as well. And then obviously taking his life yesterday in Hermanus. Just your reaction, Tahir, when the story had actually broken.
Well, it was quite a shock for me to learn that Markus Jooste decided to take an easy way out, a way of cowards, by killing himself, because he came across as one pompous, arrogant guy. And I mean, all the interactions that I've had with this man in parliament and in the news and so forth, he sounded like somebody who's confident about what he was saying. I thought that, the frustration that we had was more on our law enforcement agencies for not moving with speed in trying to come to a conclusion in terms of prosecuting Markus Jooste. So yesterday when I learned, I received calls that this man decided to take his life. I felt somewhat quite surprised. It's not something that I really expected. We all knew that he was in trouble. We've seen it with the case that he had with the German authorities, where he basically failed to appear in court, and there was a warrant issued against him. That in itself obviously demonstrated that he realized that he was in trouble. However, this was not something that I was expecting, not at all.
You mentioned interesting that he took the cowardly way out by taking his own life. And again, when one talks about the manner in which he's decided to go, take the easy way out against the damage that he had caused through Steinhoff, the damage that has been caused to this country, it's enormous, it's huge, and it's something that we haven't recovered from. And at the end of the day, this country, even if it's taken the easy way out, this country is still paying a price, a huge price.
No, absolutely. A lot of people have really suffered in the hands of Markus Jooste and company. And by the way, in as much as Markus Jooste is like a centerpiece of the whole fraud that transpired at Steinhoff, I believe that he was not the only one. There's still a lot of people who were party to what Markus Jooste did, who are still alive, who are still walking around, who have benefited immensely from those fraudulent transactions. You must understand that every time they give out fraudulent results of the performance of the company, these people, majority of them being white males, they were getting huge bonuses. I read somewhere that Markus Jooste himself, between I think 2014 and 2017, he made in excess of around over 700 million in remuneration because of the cooking of the Steinhoff books. So he was not the only one. And all that money needs to be recovered from all these executives of Steinhoff and those who worked with him, like the CFO of Steinhoff at that time, who basically have confessed to wrongdoing. That is why he struck that deal with FSCA, and FSCA decided not to prosecute him, which is something that we are going to take on review, because the mere fact that he chose to participate and be honest with the FCA is not an exoneration of the crimes that he committed with Markus Jooste. He still has to be brought to book, irrespective of his confessions. So for us, it's neither here nor there. But I believe that that is not, he's not the only one who benefited. There are others who have benefited, and must also be recovered from them.
Yes, and also I think you make a very, very valid point in terms of our law enforcement agencies, the National Prosecuting Authority, in a particular, because we know, and I think even Markus Jooste actually knew that they had planned, some of the heavyweights. They were talking about their A team, the NPS A team, to square off, against Markus Jooste, and they recruited all these heavyweights. They brought them in, obviously, with regard to all these charges that were leveled against him, and he had an insight into this. But again, in a situation like this, how much time do you give a person before you take action against him when everything is clear, Tahir? And I think this is where the point you're making is, our law enforcement agencies also need to get the act together. Today it's Markus Jooste. Tomorrow it could be another a good few others. And at the end of the day, all of this to a huge cost to the country and its people.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been long 7 years, and if you check the timeline in terms of the German authorities, how they dealt with the whole thing of Steinhoff, it was really done efficiently and in a manner that you can see that these people want to come to a conclusion of this matter. And unfortunately, in this country, we haven't even done anything. By the way, obviously there are rumors that he was on a verge of being arrested, but those are mere rumors. We haven't seen anything from South African authorities to demonstrate that they were really taking this thing seriously in trying to make sure that these people are brought to book. And this is where the problem is with white collar crime. It's been dealt with differently. If any of our people steals milk and half brown at ShopRite Checkers, they get prosecutors there and there, and they are given life sentences for milk and half brown. But here is a man who embezzled over 100 billion. That's a lot of money. And he's been having a good time, enjoying himself in Hermanas with his family, whilst the families of a lot of people who invested in Steinhoff were suffering due to his fraudulent behavior. And we can only blame our authorities, our NPA and South African police, for not acting quick enough in making sure that crimes like these are brought to book in the quickest possible time. And this argument that, look, we don't have the capacity to investigate these sophisticated crime, then what are you saying? Are you saying that the state is failing to fulfill its obligation? We can't be saying that, because the state is there to make sure that they uphold the law. And then they need to make sure they capacitate all the law enforcement agencies to be able to deal with any form of crime, irrespective of what that crime is. But because of these are high flyers, these are people with money and so forth, they have been dealt with differently.
Well, Tahir, we seem to be making this mistake over and over again. We will recall extradition of the Guptas as well, where we missed the boat there as well. They came, they took from the country, they ran away, and then we found that we had absolutely no case in bringing them or forcing them back into South Africa to pay for their crimes. And now we see Markus Jooste. And, I don't know how many more if we don't get our act together, really, Tahir. Because these are not good signs for us as a country in terms of how we react and how we approach crimes like these, especially when they are done at such a sophisticated level.
Exactly. I mean, as you would know, and yet that I was involved in the a lawsuit against Steinhoff, and we sued Steinhoff in Germany, and we managed to get that case done quickly, and it was settled. And the people that were representing, and unfortunately, we didn't have any South African companies. Even PIC, well, I don't know whether they refused or they chose not to join our group in suing Steinhoff. But at least those that were represented, we managed to get some of their money back. But what about South Africans? I mean, institutions like PIC, he wrote a book or he left a note or something implicating these criminals who benefited unduly from Steinhoff. And maybe if he has done that, even though he chose to trade jail for hell, at least we can be able to pursue those who are still walking around and who have benefited from Steinhoff, from the blood money of the working class and many investors across the world.
Well, Tahir, let's wait and see what happens, what materializes. But as always, we thank you. We say Jazakallah Shukran to you, my brother, for coming on and continue enjoying the blessings of this beautiful month of Ramadan, inshallah.
Same to you, Niyat. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tahir Maepa with us this afternoon as we head towards the Asr Azan. We come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Qureisha Ismail Suleiman.